Hey besties, it's me. Good to see you. I'm just trying to test this out. Okay, so we're gonna ignore that. Hey besties, it's good to see you. Thanks for joining me on my channel. This is Carrie from Terminal Doesn't Mean Goodbye. And you know why I say that. It's my own stuff, and watch my channel regularly and you'll know what that means too. Anyway, good to see you. I just have to say that this last couple of weeks has just been really difficult, and everybody hits their breaking points. It's just part of life. For me, I haven't actually had breaking points before. This is all new to me. But for me, I have been overall a very optimistic person, and that has been always just such a good thing too. And I think that it's something that's healthy, and I am always just able to see positive things out of everything. I think just what has happened recently is that with everything going on with home and with how quickly my health has taken a decline and all the metastasis and how that really affects me. And then, you know, the other stuff we won't even talk about. I hit a breaking point. I'm just gonna be totally transparent with you guys. I won't always be this way. It's not like I plan to stay in this spot at all. It's just I've always had a really hard time processing negative or sad or difficult emotions. And I feel like right now with everything going on, that I feel like the breaking point is natural to happen. It's natural to happen in anybody. A person can only go through so much before you kind of hit the wall on it. And I'm talking like physically and every bit. And then there's that aspect of control as well. I can't control what's going on in my environment, and I can't control what's going on in my body, other than doing everything that I've tried and to no avail. You know, things haven't worked for my cancer, and this just is what it is. And I think what really got me was the moment of when filling out all of my body donation papers and calling around for that, of how raw that was for me, because I've done this for other people, for other loved ones or friends that had passed, and it, you know, it was upsetting, but it wasn't like it hit me hard. And this was something, the way that it hit was truly one of the most traumatic things that's ever happened in my life ever. And that's something that it really pointed out and caused a whole line of triggers for me that put me what felt like at the bottom of a tunnel or well or something, at the bottom of a hole, looking up trying to get out. And that set of triggers reminded me of my my horrible relationship with my parents and what that really means, because a lot of times during times like this, usually you'll have a parent to call or things like that. And while I do have Casey's parents as my own parents, they're still his parents first, of course, you know, and I know that they love me too, but it's those things, like normally you would call your parents if something like that happened, you know. And I don't even want to go down that road. It's not that I need explanation or anything like that. But the way, seeing how the upcoming events and how quickly things are going, seeing how it affects my kids, and not having control over their feelings, but just really, really wanting to be there for them every second and really nurture them and cuddle them and hold them and tell them individually how important they are. It's been a thing, but it's been really wonderful to be able to do that with them, and I'm so glad that they open their arms to me and that they love me the way that they do. But it also, like, at the same time, in my private space of realizing all the things that I don't have in my own personal world. And I'm not here to give a sob story or anything like that. I'm just being ultra transparent, which is really difficult for me to do. And I know that while I'm a super positive person, on the other side, I know that I have a fire as well, and that sometimes you guys might see that. And I can't apologize for that, because it's not like I'm one facet of a gem, you know, that one facet does not define all of me. That's one side that people get to perceive that is a whole of me, which is fine too. But I'm a very passionate person, and I will say what's on my mind too. And sometimes I regret being overly transparent as well, because I'm not trying to hurt other people too, and I feel uncomfortable when I know that I you know, maybe made some people upset. But right now, digging myself out of this really hard spot and really letting God just be my absolute parent has been really, really important. But I also am grateful for the time that I get for the happy tears as well. One of my best friends just lost one of her best friends today, and that best friend was a former client of mine, but only because my best friend had referred her to me. And this person was quite special and passed last night, and it was a big surprise to the family. But at the same time, it brought around how important my best friend's children are too. She's got small ones, and I'm really blessed that they allow me into their lives as well. And we were talking about how to talk to the kids about this person's death, let alone Aunt Carrie's death, upcoming death too, and like, what's the right way to do that? And you know, these are conversations we're allowed to have a voice on now that in the past we weren't necessarily able to speak so strongly about. But right now, in this time, this day and age, and all the traumas going on, and God, that just breaks my heart, of all the things going on in the world, and things that we can't control. But the stuff that we can control is making space for the people that we love, and making sure that we convey how much that we love them, and being able to give a voice to areas where we weren't comfortable in the past talking about things. And for me, in my life, I haven't always been comfortable talking about me on a real level, on a superficial level. Yeah, I'm fine with that, because it's outward stuff that nobody has to know. But on a real raw inside thing, this is all new for me to be open with anybody else, let alone myself. These are emotions that it's always been fight or flight mode, and it's more fight, flight, or freeze mode, not just one or the other. And I have a tendency to freeze first and then fly. And I've made a commitment to myself and to my family, and as they grow older and are able to have their voices, to not be silent anymore. Even if my emotions are really, really big and fiery at first, we can sum those emotions down and talk through it and whatnot, and understand that what we're saying outward, even if it comes out big, that it was worth saying. And then, realize that was just kind of like a rough draft of conversations. The reason why I'm saying all this is that I read so much about all these families and stuff going through the stuff that I am, and sorry about the shaky camera, going through the same stuff that I am, and that their parents, mother, aunt, uncle, relative that was so close to them, that they didn't get to have these types of conversations. And then now, being in the type of world that we are now, especially as women, how important it is to have these types of conversations, even if it does come out big at first. And when you're a person who has a chronic illness or a terminal cancer, especially like mine, when I'm summing down the last parts of however long that I have left, that I want those voices to be heard, even if they're not first. It's like, can we just call them and say, hey, that was pretty upbeat, can we revise that? Is that really what you meant? And so forth. But I'm more concerned on my home front, and especially with my kids, that those things be worked out with them as well. Over the last couple of weeks too, I've talked to you guys about, you know, my cancer recently has just been spreading like wildfire. But I also have, there's, in part of my cancer through my lungs, I have a tumor in my pleural area, which that means that the pleural area is the lining of the lungs. And having that type of a tumor generally leads to having pleural effusions. And this last week, I've been just having so much stabbing pain under my left breast here. And it's not a heart attack, but it just feels like, and I've been having a lot of difficulties breathing, it's been really hard to go through, but it feels like when I cough, when I breathe, when I do anything, it's just this sharp stabbing pain. I can't raise my arms above here without it really hurting, like just feeling like raw stab all the way through. And what it feels like is that you know, it feels like pleural effusion. And I don't know if you guys have, if anybody's had pneumonia before, but it feels like a really intense pneumonia. I get pneumonia all the time. That's one of the things about, I've gotten pneumonia yearly at least since I was 5 years old. So, I mean, there was a couple years where I didn't, but overall it generally happens every year, especially in the winter and the beginning of summer. And that a lot of the summer ones are usually brought on by allergies and all sorts of stuff that blah. Anyway, whatever, it turns into pneumonia. This pain, it feels like that kind of, it's that kind of a stabbing, but that pneumonia feeling is a lot more achy feeling than it is stabbing feeling like this stuff is. So I've been doing a lot of physical therapy for the area that I had. I have that big old huge scar here from last year when I did those rounds of, God, I can't remember how many months span it was, but I had 20 honest surgeries over the last, I can't remember what time span it was, but it was, I think it was like 11 or close to 12 months or 10 months or somewhere like that. I had, yeah, a couple of months there where I had several surgeries, not just on this. This one, I had 4 surgeries over the period of 3 weeks and so forth. Anyways, it was a lot of surgeries, but there's a lot of scar tissue and stuff that's through there too. And it's very similar to the way that somebody who has breast cancer, where you need that physical therapy to get the body to kind of release itself and quit and start chilling out on those nerves. Forgive me. About the coughing, that's just going to be the way it is. But right now it's a little bit better than it will be. The more I talk, the harder it is to breathe, the harder that it is to do anything. So I really, at this point in my life, have to plan every single thing that I do, and will I have enough energy for it. But the PT thing, physical therapy thing, is meant to help my body feel better, and it's part of my palliative care, but it's more inching into the hospice care that I'm about ready to start. I still haven't made any commitments on that, but even though I know next week I'm supposed to have all this stuff turned in for what kind of exact hospice care do I want and all of that, but I'm just, dang, I feel like I'm really good at handling all sorts of things all at once. But I feel like recently I am hitting my quota on how much I can hit all at once, you know, and my top priority is being physically around my loved ones. And so I'm doing everything I can to make sure that I get to have time with them in person, at the cost of all sorts of stuff. But those are areas that I can control in my life. I can't control how pain goes, and yes, I'm on pain medicines and things like that, but they only work to a degree. That aside, whatever. I'm not complaining about pain medicines. I'm not complaining about any of that stuff. What I'm saying though is that even though it has a tap out on how much it works and how much it even works for what people would say was, oh, I feel a lot better, that type of stuff. And I'm okay with that I'm never going to be without pain. That's not my problem. It's just where my thresholds are. And when it gets up into the really intense pains like the one in my chest and through those areas, that's a whole different bit, compiled with all the stuff that I have, the cancer I have through my pelvis and my everywhere. Anyway, I just wanted to tell you, do a quick check-in. I love you guys so much. Thank you for having my back. I've got yours too. Love you so much. I'm going to check out for now. I'm so tired. Mwah. Bye.